adventure with my Neo. We going offshore, water slick as glass. My chain, in the open sea, nothing else to ask.
All right, my friends, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Neo Adventures. Previous episode, part one of fixing my motors. I wanted to just stay up with the updates more and all that stuff. Just kind of show you guys going through a journey. But I've got one more set of videos for the second motor that I want to show you guys. But the first motor was pretty easy. Second motor was a little bit more effort and more work on actually swapping out the actual block, and swapping out with the other midsection and stuff. On other news, I just picked these guys up. So this guy is a gantry crane, and it's basically what I need to be able to kind of lift the motors off of the boat and then replace them, swap them up and all this stuff. So got a pretty sweet deal picking up this guy. So we are all ready to now start doing some work on a boat and stuff. But enjoy this episode of the rebuild of the second motor. So the teardown continues. Today I'm working on the other two motors. So finally got the good one running, which is this guy, and he's all set. You guys saw previously he was peeing and running and everything, so I think this guy's good. So we threw that guy in the crate and then threw the other one up here so I can kind of work on both of them. The plan is basically trying to kind of piece these two together to get a good one that's running, and then just kind of using the best parts of them all. This one was the one that's supposed to be running. This is a little bit older one. It's a little bit more dirty and stuff. Well, you can see like all this junk and all that. The midsection is probably a little bit older. This one's a little bit cleaner. As you can see, it's super clean. Unfortunately, this guy had a bad cylinder. I think some water got into it, and there's some scoring or some things that kind of melt. So there's like, if you can hear that, like my fingernail can hit that. So that means that how this guy failed was this cylinder. And the reason was because water was in the oil tank. So I drained the oil tank that was on the motor sitting right here, and this came out. So pretty much water, somehow water got into the oil system, and then this motor basically was starved of oil, which kind of makes sense on what I'm kind of seeing here with something that melted here. I don't know, could have been the rings that melted a little bit, causing the failure in this cylinder. This one, a little bit of rusting and stuff, but that could be from like sitting or something like that. But yeah, this guy's got like some stuff in there. But just basically stripping these two motors. I already got this one pretty much stripped for the most part. Removed all the fuel and oil system stuff, removed all the electronics, the ECU and everything. Removed this side too, removed starter, unbolted the fuse box here, and I think this guy is pretty much all, for the most part, kind of stripped out. I might take off the high pressure fuel pump, reuse this guy, because this guy could be newer and stuff. So the plan is I want to use this midsection, but this block is bad, and then this block is good, but everything is kind of dirty, and also the midsection might be a little bit older and stuff. So I'm going to be stripping this guy also. Let's look at all this oily crap and stuff. So the plan is to strip this guy, which I already stripped, strip this guy too, and basically do a block swap. So take this block, swap it over to this midsection, and then use all of the accessories that was original on this motor and put it on, because they were a little bit newer and stuff. here's all the parts. I'm just kind of organizing them into boxes. I've been keeping Amazon boxes for a while just for this purpose. So here's some of the oil and fuel stuff. Here's the VST and the lift pumps. Here's the ECU. Here is the O2 sensor and starter. So I'm going to be reusing all these. These seem, you know, to be in a little bit better condition than this guy and stuff. So next up is just going to be stripping everything down to the block, so so I can kind of swap it out. These guys, I was hoping to use these oil. Maybe I might take off the oil lines and swap them and stuff, but the oil pump might be bad now, considering that water kind of flowed through it. So I don't want to risk it trying to kind of reuse that, but I might, if the hoses are in better condition than this one, I might just pull the hoses in, swap out the hoses, and maybe just make sure that they're kind of clean and stuff. Because right now, if oil went through them, all of these filters, they are probably trash at this point. Filter there, filter here. You really don't want to risk it. The oil pump here. These are the jets, the oil jets and stuff. But this guy's almost ready to kind of pull. Took down the cowling, so I believe it's just going to be these bolts. There's 3 on this side, 3 on the other side. Might be some more hidden somewhere else, but the plan will be, once I'm ready with both, I'm going to be unbolting this and then basically lifting off the block, and then doing the same on that, and then really doing the actual swap. So it wasn't too bad stripping everything. Just kind of did on this one. Now I'm going to be doing on this one, and then hopefully we'll have two bigger blocks to work with. Some hard work here. Finally got one head off, or one block off. So this is the bad block. Finally got it, the block off of the midsection. So this is the midsection. Midsection here, the base here, shifter rod here, and this is the block. So gonna have to pretty much clean up this a little bit. I'll probably have to get a new gasket and stuff, but it doesn't look pretty bad. It looks pretty clean. Just probably clean up some more a little bit. Spare 10mm. Clean up a little bit, get this all kind of prepped up, clean all the surface and stuff, just kind of scrape it down, and getting it ready for for this guy. So I'm gonna have to find a place to stash this guy, and then eventually try to pull this guy too. But it's still pretty much going to be the same process. Unbolt some of the bolts under, and then just jack it up. But this guy is all out. I'll probably take off this part, the intake part, and it looks a little bit cleaner, and then swap that out with the other block too. But making progress. All right, back at it again. This time gonna rebuild this guy, which is my trim, tilt and trim. So basically on that guy, this guy wasn't really working, so I had to take him off and see what was going on. I thought it was the motor, but the motor seems fine. The motor's still working, so maybe, you know, it just kind of got stuck or something. So I've decided to basically do rebuild on this. Got some new an O-ring kit for the whole trim and tilt system. I already took off all this stuff. Took out all the pistons and all that, the caps and stuff, and I bang it out. But I got some new caps, so new caps going on. You get these guys, new O-rings. I'm gonna be replacing all that stuff, and then eventually refilling it with new fluid and stuff too. The motor sits right here, Motor's off right now, but gonna basically just take off all the O-rings and then basically replace that and put the motor back on and try to see if I can kind of bleed it and get it all good and stuff so I can put it back onto the midsection. So I got all of these changed out, new washers and new O-rings all cleaned up and all that stuff. Got the tilt rod kind of taken apart. It's all in parts and pieces and stuff, but these two for the rods are good for the trim. Trim is good and stuff. These are all cleaned up, new O-rings. This is the follower, so this guy goes into the tilt first, and then this guy sits right on top and all that. So here's all the old stuff. Well, some old and some new. Old O-rings and all that. The new stuff is all here. And then this is actually one of the tip that goes on top of this guy. You know, there's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to kind of rebuild the trim and tilt, so I'm not going to go into detail. But only thing is that if you take it off, just gotta make sure you don't lose these springs. And then in there's actually some little ball bearings too, so just be very careful when you take that out. This guy actually sits right at the tip of this guy, of the tilt rod. Alright, so got the trim rebuilt, got it back in, and now it's working again. So let's check it out. Just gonna be hooking up on a 12-volt battery down here. Try and go up. Yeah. Sweet. Come back down. It's not much weight down here, so there's nothing that's kind of pushing it down, but it does go down. Trim, good. Next up, gonna be lifting up try and lift up the motor. So got this motor cleaned up, got the midsection all set up. So next thing is I'm gonna lift this up and then try to kind of put it in there. We'll see if it works by myself, but check it out. This guy cleaned up pretty good, nice and clean. Took a lot of degreaser to it, brushed it down, and then basically brake cleanered it. This is nice and clean. All the front is nice and clean too. So once this guy's back, I can start putting the head and also the newer accessories on. Making progress. Man, it has been an all-day adventure, but she's finally together again. Got the block finally bolted down back onto the midsection. Everything's all nice and clean and ready for everything else together to put on. Whole harness, the fuse box. Had a little challenge. I kind of torqued one of these screws a little bit too tight and it broke, so I had to like take the whole thing, take this plate off. Fortunately, I was able to kind of just get it out. But she's looking good. Next, really probably just got to put the heads back on, got some new gaskets, and then starting to kind of put all this stuff back together. Hopefully I remember where everything goes. I did take a lot of pictures and videos to make sure that everything's going to be back plugged where they're supposed to. A lot of plugs and everything, but it's coming along pretty good. Trim works, block is mounted. On to the next. All right, another day, back at it. So I think today I'm going to try to get all the wirings back. Pretty much bolt up back the fuse box. Figure out all this stuff. Got wires and harnesses everywhere. So got to figure out where everything goes again. Probably got to go back to some of the videos and pictures that I took just to remember where things go. And then I'll probably swap this guy out with that guy down there. Got to figure out how to get him off from the bottom. Aside from that, I've got all new parts for that second motor. So got a new pump, electric fuel pump. Got the harness for that. Got some new fuel filters and all that. The mystery filters. Some new O-rings for the injectors and everything. Some gaskets for the VST, and just some hose ready. So all new parts here for that second motor. I'm ready to kind of put back. Really just gotta connect back all the harnesses and everything. Probably start out on this side, bolt back up the fuse box, and then start putting things back together. Put the starter back, the O2 sensors, and go on from there. All right, well, I got this side all back together. Got all the wirings all set up, all wired back up in here. Starters back on, O2 sensors back on. Cleaned it up pretty good, so I think we're for the most part pretty good on this side. It's looking like it's back to normal a little bit. I still got to do the new installation for the actual electric fuel pump, so that's going to be coming eventually too. And then just a couple harness hanging up here as I start to kind of build things out to the front side. But with this one, as you can see, that there are no heads on it on this side. So next thing I'm going to try to work on is putting the new heads on. So I've got some new gaskets and everything, and taking the heads from this donor, this old guy, or the newer old guy, because it's a little bit cleaner. So got it off, just kind of doing some scraping some of the stuff off. I'm gonna have to scrape all this stuff off and clean it, and then probably dunk it in the ultrasonic cleaner. This is one from before, which is pretty clean too. Yeah, I already kind of ultrasonic cleaned this guy before. Probably just make sure this guy's scraped clean and all that stuff. And then yeah, and then here's the other one where I ultrasonic cleaned before. I think I scraped it a little bit. Could probably scrape it a little bit better before I put it on. The heads on this side's looking pretty good too. But this is the good clean one. This is the old one, and you can see this guy's even ultrasonic clean too, but you can see that there's a lot more corrosion than this guy. So working on the heads, cleaning them, scraping them up a little bit, and then going to be dunking them into the ultrasonic cleaner. Well, I was working on basically cleaning up the VST, and we've got a bad pump. Well, actually the pump still works, but if you can see this is really rusted. When I opened up the VST, basically there was a lot of orange rust, water, gunk, you name it in there. And looks like what happened was, for this motor, water got into fuel and water got into the VST. Yeah, so basically this is the VST. The fuel pump sits in there like that. But when I took things off, you know, it was all rusted. It's unfortunate, and look how rusty this guy is, so I can't really use this, otherwise it's going to contaminate the fuel and all that stuff. It still works. Plugged it up and put on a 12-volt battery. It still spins, but you don't want to use this. With all this rust and gunk, it's just going to contaminate your fuel again. But I guess the motor, the original motor, basically failed from not only just water in the oil, but also water in the fuel. So that means any fuel system component that I'm reusing, I'm gonna have to make sure to either replace or fully flush it out and all that stuff. So I actually had to go back to the older motors VST. So this is the older motors VST, so I'm gonna just end up using that one. This is the one, this was the one that had that fuel pump in there. I cleaned it up quite a bit, and also Sonic cleaned it, but you can see there's still like some rust marks in there. But in here it was all orange, and way at the bottom there was like some gunk, orange rust and gunk and all that stuff. And then here's we take a look at here, you can see it was all up in here too. This is where the top of the fuel pump goes. Here's the float. You can see some rust residue. So basically water got into this guy with some fuel, and it had to have been a very long time, because for this guy to rust like this, you know, the water had to be in here for quite a bit of while and stuff. You know, the casing is still good. You know, if you kind of clean it out, get the rust out, you know, clean up this guy, get all the rust out and stuff too, it will still be good. But definitely got to replace the fuel pump. So I'm not going to use these. I'm going to go back to just the older motors VST. I already cleaned that up from previous and all the stuff, so it's already pretty clean and everything. Unfortunately, I gotta get a new fuel pump, because the fuel pump that was on the old one was broken and wasn't working, and this guy still works, but he's all rusted. So this is gonna sit like this until I order a new fuel pump, and then basically be able to kind of rebuild the VST. All right, I am making some progress. Check that out. So I put the heads on, so pretty much got the head and also the cover and thermostats all back on, wired everything up, cleaned up all the wires and stuff, and then also got the head on this side. So got both of the heads on, had new head gaskets and all that stuff, so new gaskets for both the head and also the cover. And then fine, just put the ECU back. So just got the ECU bolted, starting to kind of plug everything in to see what is still kind of remaining. I think these are the coil plugs, so starting to look pretty good. Everything is getting plugged up. There is no orphan plug on this side, so that's good. So I'm pretty much catching everything and plugging everything as I go from one side to the other. I think these are also like, these are probably the coil packs. This I think that there might be some electronics like right here. I think it goes right here. So, but it's coming along, plugging everything in, and then eventually just trying to kind of put the harness back and start to get to this side. With this side is nothing yet, but this is all the fuel stuff that I gotta work on. So hopefully I can get through the wiring on the ECU side, and then it's probably gonna be another day to kind of deal with all this stuff. In the meantime, the new fuel pump came in. So I ordered a new fuel pump from Amazon. This guy it's from F4X parts. It's kind of like a generic fuel pump. $100. $100 for a fuel pump. And then it came with like a new filter and all the stuff too. But check it out. Like, this is the old rusted one. This is the old busted one, the one that doesn't work. And then this is the brand new one, all nice and shiny and clean. I did check the plug. It is pretty much just plug and play. So when I get to the fuel stuff, it's going to be putting all this stuff back together. The VST right here, all this guy, it's like all the VST parts and all that stuff. But as of now, it's all kind of just laying here. Yeah, which is all these parts. They're all the fuel and injector parts and all that stuff. So it's probably going to be the next thing that I'll get to. Here's my electric fuel pump that I'm going to be doing that mod to it. But that's all fuel stuff, probably for another day. In the meantime, just trying to kind of get all this stuff back together, find what I can plug in. One big thing is like, I've got to make sure that I get all the ground wires plugged back up, because there's a lot of like loose ground wire. Here's one, here's another ground wire and stuff. So gotta make sure it's very important for those ground wires. So gotta plug them up. And yeah, just gonna continue on trying to figure out. I think this guy goes like this, maybe. Seems like he does. Goes up here and then under the fuel lines, maybe. That looks about right. Squeeze it in there. Yeah, it's looking about right. Harness comes from under, wraps up here, connects here, and wraps over there. So all this stuff probably runs somewhere up there like that. All this stuff runs somewhere on the side. I think these connect here, and I'm guessing this guy looks like he connects here, which that works. But this is looking a little weird. Yeah, I gotta fix this. But yeah, making some progress, getting closer to being ready to start. All right, working on the fuel system. This is the last part of it all. Already got the oil tank, got the fuel filter, the main fuel filter, and then just basically installing my electric fuel pump mod. Got the mounted on and all that stuff, and the wires all ready. So after this, going to be putting the VST back and then basically doing the wiring for this fuel pump. If you're interested in doing this mod, it's actually pretty straightforward. Couple main things that you have to do is relocate these. So these, this is probably a relay, and this is probably some sort of valve. So these used to be located right under here, right under the VST, which goes right there. Which it goes like this. So it used to go right under there where that hole is and stuff. But as you can see with this new electric fuel pump, it's pretty much in the way right there. So just had to relocate that. Just had to relocate these two, and then basically just kind of move them up. There's a lot of space behind here, so you can pretty much just move it up here. This guy I just kind of bolted onto one of the existing bolt for the lift pump, and then this guy you have to actually extend the hose from the oil pump down there, right there. So the hose goes from oil pump all the way up to this guy. So you just got to extend that a little bit so that this guy comes all the way up here, and then you've got the two plugs right here. So it's pretty clean setup and stuff, and pretty stable. This will go into the VST on one of the tops, and then this guy's pretty on there. But this is the electric fuel pump mod, you know, still using just the standard fuel filter. And on both of these ends, I'm actually using a 90-degree elbow. So you can see right there, 90-degree elbow from the fuel filter going in, and then it's going to be coming out here, and this hose is going to be, it's kind of going to be doing a little loop, and then back into the VST, which is going to be up here. But the second time around it's a little bit easier because I already kind of did this whole setup already, so I knew what had to kind of do. But got this guy mounted. Now I'm really just going to put on the VST and plug everything else in, and then run some of these wires. So one of these is going to be ground, one of these is going to be the signal for this electric fuel pump. All right, I think I finally got her all done, baby. Check that out. Got all the wiring done for the electric fuel pump. Pretty much the relay, the fuse, wire signal goes over there. Everything's all set on this side. Fuse box, starter, O2, spark heads, injectors, coils, all plugged up. Spark injectors and everything are good on this side. Oil tank, fuel filter, fuel pump, and VST. So here is the wire from the relay for the fuel pump. Comes right here, goes down, one goes in here, and one pretty much basically splices on one of the signal wire for the VST pump. So pretty much when you turn on the key, VST turns on, and now this guy will turn on too. Only last thing to do is just to run this hose, which is going to kind of loop like this to then right here. And then hopefully, I think tomorrow, I will try to pretty much hook up the blower unit and put some water on it and try to start it. So as of now, everything's all good and set. Everything looks all connected. Fuel is good. Gotta fill the oil tank here to make sure we got some oil. But it is looking pretty good. Fingers crossed for us to try to start it. But everything looks solid. Everything's all plugged in. Excited, getting close, man, getting close. All right, today is the day that we're gonna see if this guy is gonna be running. Got him all hooked up to the battery, hooked up to the harness and stuff. But before I kind of hook up the fuel and the oil too, I think I'm going to do a compression test on this to see how good my job went with the new head gaskets and all that stuff. I remember originally with this motor, this lower cylinder was a little bit lower. I believe it was like 90 or something, but these were like all the other ones were like 115 or 120 or something like that PSI. So with the new head gaskets and basically the newer heads and stuff, cleaned up heads, I want to do a compression test on it to double check to see, to make sure they're all good before I actually start the whole thing. So I'm gonna be doing that. I like what I see. Just did the first one. Start with the one that was bad before, and look at this. Just right under 120, probably about 118. Perfect. Got to test the other ones, make sure they're pretty much around the same. Plus or minus 10%, but at least that guy is pretty good. Second one, 120. This is cylinder 4. Not bad, just a little bit under 120. Cylinder 2, still within 10%. Cylinder 1, It's like around 100. Cylinder 3, 120. And this is cylinder 6, so around 100. So they're about 100 to 120-ish. Well, I think compression test is good enough. They're within 10% variance of each other. So this guy was just a little bit above 100. This guy was around 120, a little bit below. This guy was same of a little bit around 100. And then this guy was maybe 118, whatever, around 120. And then I think around 100 and stuff. So variance is about 8% across all of them. So I think it's good to run. All right, getting ready to start it up. Just filling out the water. The boys are here for some manpower and some emotional support. So hopefully we get some good news on this guy once that guy's filled up.
Long stream. Oh yeah, that's a good stream, yep.
She starts. We had to do a little troubleshooting, changing out some of the coils, but it starts. Keying pretty good. I think we can say that this guy is good and running. So I think really next thing is really just to put it on the boat and test it with some load.